Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello there. And who is Galaxy S20?
This is Mrs. Ogden, the parent liaison from Dr.
Ah,
Walter Cooper School 10.
great. Very good. Welcome.
Hello.
Good
Yeah.
evening, Dr. Thomas.
Good evening, Miss Ogden. Good evening, Mr. Boutte, Mr. Kieran. How are you?
Very good. Good to see you
Good.
again.
Good to see you again. Yes, yes.
Yeah, we should have a few more people joining us, but
Okay.
did you get the note I sent out just about half hour ago or so? Or even the one that had gone out earlier has links to the Coalition for Public Education meeting minutes, and I wanted to make sure we covered some of the issues in that, and also it's another one of those things that I need to spend some time on to get updated certificates on that website, but
Okay.
it may give you all sorts of dire warnings, but it's safe as far as I know. Yeah, one of the things they talked about in the minutes there are they sent a coalition letter to the Regents Blue Ribbon Committee, and the Regents are sounding like the two people in the waiting room. Okay. Here we are.
Hello, John.
Hey, how you doing, Lee?
Just fine.
Yeah, it doesn't take long for me to forget half the things I should remember for using Zoom. Being away from doing this for 3 months, I seem to screw up everything one way or the other, but I think I finally got the fact that you folks are here must be that I managed to fix the last minute problems I noticed. Um, yeah, I attended a couple of the CET meetings at School 19 and at School 10, and had also attended Dan Dermisage's Coalition for Public Education meeting of a few days back. I think it was on the 10th. And they were talking about, of course, all the school closings, and some of them make sense. Others, I'm not so sure that was the best way to go. And uh, Eva, what's your take on what they did to School 10?
Well, it was just shocking to us because we definitely didn't see that one coming. Every year, we've been closing the achievement gap and making gains. And this year, we felt like we had a really solid team to move the school forward. So it was kind of a surprise and a shock to us when
Mm.
I was invited to go to the superintendent's conference room for a meeting with all the other principals. So basically, all the receivership schools were being reconfigured along with the buildings that are very, very old. So, like 41 and 39 and 29, very old buildings. And so I think some of the issue could be or might be we have a lot of newly remodeled buildings in the Southwest area because the Southwest area was hit quite a bit in regards to the reconfigurations because School 2, School 10, were some of the schools they have on the list. Just thankfully 2 and 25 are able to merge because they have enough space to merge. But we do not have enough space to merge with Montessori. The other issue is we're an expeditionary learning school, and Montessori has a different educational model where there's 2 grade levels in the classroom that are taught. And versus our model is research based, so our children go out into the community and they research information and come back and share and try to make it a better world and come up with strategies and ideas on how to make our world better and do great presentations and learn a lot of information. But we just didn't see it coming, Mr. Boutte. Very shocking to us, very traumatic actually to all the stakeholders, to the community partners, to families, to students, as well as myself. Just did not see that coming, did not have any warning. So it's not good news at all to hear about our school closing. We got petitions out. We marched with our school community. Many people have written letters to the commissioner, to the board. Many parents have spoke at board meetings and wrote letters to the board. And that is still the plan. Nothing has changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so at this point, the anxiety is looming now because the middle school appointments have been done and the elementary principal appointments have not been done. So we have to kind of wait for retirements, and then they will, I guess, place us in new schools. And then you have the issue of families who want to stay connected to their principals. So my families are asking, my staff are asking, where are you going? Because I want to go where you're going. And so I can't tell them where I'm going because I don't know. So we have that issue as well. So we're praying and hoping that we'll know something soon, very soon, hopefully by January is what we're thinking. We'll know something hopefully by then or maybe sooner, since the middle school principals have been placed. So now they're working on elementary principals.
Yeah, that's we had been involved back when they tried closing 10 and move the program elsewhere because we felt that, gee, this is a very valuable program, the expeditionary learning.
Yes.
We wanted to keep it in the 19th ward.
Yes.
So, it's always sad to see something that we worked so hard for and
Yeah, I
managed
agree.
to get
That's
renovated and then see it
Yeah,
things shuffled around.
yeah, Yep.
Especially that that particular type of program is something that's worked well in other schools and
oh, yep. Other schools nationwide. I'm actually leaving next week to go to Denver, Colorado, myself and my coaches. In spite of all that's going on, we are still following the plans that we had for this year. So we're going to a national training for expeditionary learning,
okay.
and we'll be leaving next week for 3 days to go and meet people from all over the United States and learn from each other. So, and come back and share our knowledge with our staff and our students and families.
Have you talked with Dan Dermisage at all?
I have not. I
Okay,
have not. I used to get emails from him, but I don't get them anymore from him. But I have not spoken with him.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
recommend giving him a call, and I was hoping he'd be able to join us. In fact, I talked to him about half an hour ago, but he was getting ready for supper, and I guess they had guests over. Silly things like, you know, getting ready for Thanksgiving and family meals and stuff like that.
Yeah, can't get in front of a man's food now.
That's right. But see, Lee, you were at the last meeting with Dan, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, and there are some aspects of the school closing and reshufflings that he's got questions about. The particularly as we talked on, they were afraid that some of the decisions that got made and approved kind of went a little too fast to really think everything through. The fact that everybody was so surprised by what got proposed. Some of them I talked to Joe, or I traded notes with Joe Baldino just recently at School 29, and there it kind of made sense. The school was in needed a lot of work, and gee, you could throw a stone over to the Foundation Academy, and there's School 4 and 2 and 16. So the fact that that school was in such a tough shape seemed to make sense to him, and he couldn't really disagree with the decisions that were made relative to that school. On the other hand, School 10, which has an excellent program there, and has been making progress. One of the things that we've noticed with some of the things that have been approved over the last 10 years, like School 41, Kodak Park School, got closed after having made a lot of, being extremely close to have met their needs. They suddenly closed these schools, reshuffled them, renamed them, and you sometimes wonder if it's just to make it more difficult for parents to unite around things. It we just I've seen this happen several times. 41, anything that anytime that a school, even if they do change the program there, the kids should remain in that school, and they should try to disrupt things as little as possible. But the opposite seems to be true. They basically kind of wipe the history out of the school system, and what you really would like to do is have parents whose parents went to that school, and maybe their grandparents, be really identified with that school and be able to circle the wagons and fight for the school if something needs to be done, and that the New York State has not always done right by the schools, and certainly central office sometimes does things very, in ways that you kind of wonder whether they're trying to help or hurt the school system. I followed School 10 from the time we got it on the list for renovations, and it got moved to where was it, at Marshall, was it? That,
Yeah, it was Marshall.
and attended some of the CET meetings there, and it, in spite of all the upheavals with the renovations, you had the they had a pretty big CET meetings when we attended those meetings there at Marshall. There were often 20 or 30 people in the room,
Hmm.
and it's well, of course, we had COVID come along and make things more difficult for all of us.
Yeah.
But I think that getting together with Dan Dermesage, and his next meeting, I believe, is December 1st. I think it's at the item 7 there in the meeting notes from his meeting at 4 o'clock, and they generally run from 4 to 5:30. And it would be good for us to try to get, if you can join that, and I don't know if we can get any other folks from your school or that have been involved with your school to join that meeting. We need to get, I think, a few more people who are involved with some of these closings that don't seem like it was the right way to go, to talk at those meetings, because Dan, right now I'm pretty scatterbrained. It's been several months of upheaval, and I've been away from some of it. But I think it would be helpful if we got, certainly you, and if we can get Dr. Walter Cooper there, that would be a very good thing. Anybody who knows some of the goings on. Have you talked with Ricardo Adams at all?
Unfortunately, Ricardo is not backing us
He's not
at
backing
all.
you.
No, so the only two commissioners on the board who supported us were Commissioner Camille and Camille Simmons and Commissioner James Patterson.
Okay.
Commissioner Adams voted for our school to close.
Huh.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what. I know at that time he was going through some pretty significant surgeries, and I don't know if, you know,
He
I,
still has some challenges he's dealing with. He does,
yeah,
but
and I don't know if that
mhm.
impacted him. You know what Isaiah thinks of what has happened? Isaiah Santiago?
Yeah. And Jacqueline Griffin, correct? Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you know what their position is on this?
Um, well, I believe they were sitting with us at the board meeting when they made the announcement. Jackie is definitely against it. She came and spent 2 hours in our building
Oh,
and
good.
hung out with us. Commissioner Patterson was invited by a teacher and he came and hung out with us for 2 hours. And Commissioner Simmons came and sat in the community meeting. And after that meeting, she voted no. So, yeah.
Okay.
So the new commissioners, I think, are in favor of us staying open, I believe.
Good, good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't had a chance to speak to either Isaiah or Mrs. Griffin. Also, what's your interaction with Cecilia Golden? Do you know?
Well, I know Dr. Golden, but I haven't spoken with her since last year. I think when we were on the platform with you, we were talking about supporting families who are struggling. So I haven't talked to her since then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't. I mean, she lives across the street from me, but I've been
Oh,
out.
wow. Okay.
I was out of town, and she often is down in Pittsburgh. So she's here probably about a third of the time, and
Yeah,
but I think it would be good just to get her input because she's got a long history with the district
she does.
and knows how fickle the central office sometimes is in terms of the decisions they make.
Yeah.
I certainly think that 10 should remain in as Dr. Walter Cooper Academy, but I my thoughts would be to try to interact with Dan Dermisage's group because they have a tremendous amount of
Leverage.
background in terms of his school had a lot of the similarities,
Okay.
and a lot of the folks that are on that committee are ex-principals, superintendents, just a lot of people involved in academia, and they are of the they support teaching in order to attract the students into getting involved with learning rather than teaching to the test and putting the kids to sleep while while the
Yeah.
teacher drones on because they want the kids to pass the next test.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that a lot of the mindset in that group agrees with the direction that your expeditionary learning program goes. And I haven't been involved closely enough with evaluating various teachers in your school. I haven't had any kids there, and
Mhm.
there's always a few people that you'd like to get more fired up to teach the way you'd like them to, but I certainly have generally had very good, positive interactions with the people I met at School 10. So,
Okay.
um,
Well, I had the pleasure my first year. I invited 10 people to leave because I felt they weren't aligned with the vision and invited some new people in. Then last year, I invited 5 people to leave. And so I feel like we have the right team this year, the
good.
perfect team, actually, that want to do what's best for kids.
Hmm.
And that's the pleasure of being a receivership school. You can build the team that you need to be successful. And so I finally believe I built the right team to take us to the finish line and they're closing us. So yeah, yep, yep, yep.
Are you going to be able? It's generally a Zoom meeting that the coalition has. Will you be available on the 10th to participate in that meeting?
Let me check and see. You said it's at 4. Let me check my schedule and see.
John, is that meeting on the first or
That's
the
a
final?
Sunday. It's on a Sunday.
Is that a Sunday?
December 10th is a Sunday, yeah.
No, this is
Mhm.
December
First, right?
first.
Isn't
First,
that isn't
yeah.
that what you
Thank
said?
you, Dr. Moss. Dr. Moss sent me the information, I guess. Some information. Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, I got this already, Dr. Moss, from Mr. Boutte. But if you all have the invitation and can forward it to me, that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
in the meeting notes, the last item they have in there is we agreed to meet again on Friday, December 1st.
Oh, okay.
Did
Let
I
me
say
go back and
December
look.
10th before?
You did, yeah. Let
My
me go back and look.
apology. Yeah.
That's okay. All right, let me just check it out here.
Sure you read the letter that he attached, that he wrote on about the reconfiguration. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I did take a look at that. Mr. Boutte sent it to me. It's very good. Very good. Um, Along with what's happening with the reconfigurations, we have something else to be concerned about. The new preschool babies, our 3 and 4 year olds, were assessed. And based on the assessments done by the Children's Institute, we have about 36 to 40% of students that are coming in with social emotional issues. Social skills very low and could be ASD students next year entering in preschool. And this is due to the effects of COVID and not being able to have their social skills built up by participating with peers and having been home for an X number of years without building their social skills. So these little cuties, 3 and 4 year olds, will be entering into the district next year with limited social skills.
Yeah, we're
About
gonna
40% of them.
have to be ready to put a lot of effort into that group and make sure we can get them up to the level they need to be at.
This is true. It's going to be challenging, but has to be done. They coming in. They already registered.
Yeah, Phyllis has been at several of those coalition meetings, right, Phyllis?
I have.
For early childhood.
That was the last one.
Okay.
And Sarah Yorsky, who's on the schools committee for the 19th ward, she also wrote a letter to the board. We had to tweak it a lot because she was very hot. She found there was a clause that they put in there that allowed them to waive any policy that went against their any part of the configuration plan that went against their policy was waived. And she obviously has some legal background. She thought that was awfully strange. So she wrote a letter about that, asking why they stuck that in there. So I suggested to Dan, he invited the board members to come on the 1st, that we all meet together and ask them to respond to Sarah's letter as well as Dan's letter. And he thought that was a good idea. So I did check with Sarah. She hasn't heard anything back on the board yet. I don't think Dan has yet either.
Okay.
Okay. From
I was trying to put the link in. Let me see if I could do it again.
I haven't talked to. Well, I think I did talk to Mary Adams when I got back in because they'd sent some things over they'd heard about Marion. But I haven't had a chance to really ask her what her thoughts were on some of these reshufflings because she was our best, very supportive of the work that Southwest Common Council Education Committee was doing and the 19th Ward Schools Committee were doing when we basically rallied behind School 16 and then School 10, and she helped us get a lot of things through the board and certainly had her her frustrations with some of the things that happen at central office.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to talk with her to see, to get her view, because everybody's got their perspective of all these issues. Has anybody talked with Mary Adams recently?
I have not, but she
No.
did email me to check on me. She knew I was very upset, very angry about the decision, and she emailed to ask how I was doing. Which I thought that was very thoughtful, but other than that,
Yeah, yeah. I
I
went.
just put the link in for the preschool students, the data, so you can click on that and read that.
Okay.
The assessments that were given and what they came up with after they assessed each child that has registered for pre-K for next year.
Do you think there's a chance that they would reverse any part of their decision? Because
I
there's some people that feel like the community discussions that the board went through and all that really didn't matter, that they had already made up their mind.
exactly. If I can explain to you how it unfolded, I think you will understand. So we opened schools. Dr. Peluso came by for my opening day. Dr. Nelms was there. Dr. Cooper was there. We had a great grand opening just for the new school year. We always do it big, and we have all our dads there cheering on the kids. And so that first week was great. Second week, I'm meeting with Center for Youth staff, and I get Outlook invite that pops up. And it says that I needed to go downtown and meet with the superintendent at 4 o'clock. When I walked in, he was coming off a plane, walking in with me from Albany. So he had already shared it with New York State Education Department, Albany, with the commissioner. He had already talked with the board about it. So he met with us, told us everything kind of unfolded in like 30-minute hour intervals. Got off the plane from Albany, met with us. An hour later, he had a special public meeting, made the announcement with the board there. Then an email went out. Then a robocall went out. Then letters went out. So it was just like the communication was every hour something was happening. We do know that this past summer he did let principals know that he needed to make a decision and realign the schools because that was what Dr. Jallo had requested, that the reconfigurations not be all over the place because we had some K6, some K8, had a mixture of everything. And there needed to be some consistency in the district so that we do know. But, it was stated to us that if we did not realign the schools, that we would lose our federal monies because we have a lot of empty seats, empty classrooms in school buildings. So, his charge was to find a way to reconfigure schools so we wouldn't lose our federal funding and also fill seats. And we lost a lot of students this year, too. We usually lose about 2,000 a year. I think we lost like 4 or 5,000 this year. Every time we open up school, we lose thousands of kids. But the average has always been about 2,000 that I can recall. This year, we lost the most kids. And so some classes had to close because there were no seats for kids. And teachers needed to move to other schools. So you have that aspect as well. So a lot of moving parts are happening, and you still have positions that may not be filled. So it's an interesting journey we're going through this year in general.
Yeah.
But I chose to do my own recruiting. And so opening day, all my seats, well, not all my seats are filled, I won't say that, but the I have all my teachers in place. When I opened, I had my teachers. I started recruiting on my own in December. And that was an option you had too as a principal. You could go to the different sites where they were recruiting and help to recruit. And I chose to recruit and I got my building straight. And then I went out and helped HCI recruit for other schools. Uh, but that was challenging too. So you have some schools who have substitute teachers and do not have certified teachers. And they're trying to get certified teachers, and they have subs right now. Some schools do. I won't say all, but some schools are still struggling to get certified teachers.
Yeah, one thing, I don't know if you, back when we were, see, School 44 became was a receivership school probably, 6, 7 years ago. And John, yeah, boy.
Lang.
Pardon?
Lang.
No, your predecessor, Phyllis, as chair of the education of the schools committee,
Oh, John Lang.
John Lang.
Oh, okay.
He and I were working on the CET team over at School 44, and we were all meeting there. This is pre-COVID and Zoom, and so we had a very close interaction with what was going on in the school, and we were trying to make sure that they got back up to speed and weren't going to be thrown a curveball by central office. And at that point, because of some of the different controversies, we got the school board to agree that the administration would give them 3 options for how to deal with the schools, because we were trying to keep 44 open, and they came up with a decision that the superintendent would, after huddling with their staff, would come up with 3 options for the school, the school board to pick from, and we were trying to basically try to keep the local schools intact as much as possible, and one of the problems we were having was the God, what do we call it again? The managed school choice policy. We had just gone through a big debate and participation for about a year and re-evaluating the managed school choice policy. We were kind of favoring seeing more local participation in the schools and trying to reduce the tendency of kids being bused all over the place, simply because the state reimbursement for busing would only be if the child was bused more than 1.5 miles. So a lot of, some parents picked a school that's 1.5 miles away if they wanted their child to be bused to school. To what extent that was the case, varied a bit, but a lot of the people who were on the committee that Liz Hallmark headed up that committee. We're trying to increase local busing so that kids could get on the bus even if their school was just half a mile away or a mile away. And the superintendent finally got the 3 recommendations to the school for a particular date that there was going to be a board meeting. And the day before that meeting, we got a call from the principal at School 44 saying that they were going to get closed because Montessori wanted to get into that school, and there had been some decisions made, backroom decisions made to close 44 and reassign those kids and open it up as the home of the Montessori program, which currently was over at Freddie Thomas, as I recall. So this was a real shocker because that shouldn't have been done that way, and that we were waiting to have the board be given the 3 options that they could decide between. So at that meeting that day, Mary Thomas just heard about it. I think I had talked to her a little bit before the meeting. And there were a lot of fireworks at that meeting because, some of the board members were rather concerned that all these decisions had been backroom decisions before the board even got presented its 3 options. And I was kind of getting a deja vu all over again when I heard that Montessori was suddenly going to be taking over Dr. Walter Cooper Academy building.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't been in touch, I haven't had a need or reason to be checking who's talking to whom, and as far as people that are still over at Freddie Thomas, but that was, kind of the thing that came to mind when I first heard of all these reshufflings, how many of them were the result of really careful study and decision making and reviewing this with the board, and how much of it was, people who are friends making some of these decisions behind closed doors, perhaps for something other than the best interests of the kids or the parents. I haven't heard any feedback on whether there is any such. I know they've been trying to get out of Freddie Thomas for some time, but have you heard anything on that, Eva?
So, I wish you could have, I know you were busy with family matters, but attending the community meeting, it was interesting for pretty much all stakeholders, because one of the first questions one of the grandfathers asked was, it's really not about the kids, but it's about real estate. You just want the building. And the response was pretty vague, and it was danced around, and then another parent was like, well, we are like 330, 340 strong, and like Montessori is like 200 and something. So why are you moving us when they can't even fill the building? And
Yeah.
the superintendent said, well, after they come in, you could come back. And so the parents was like, does that make any sense? Because we're already here. So it's just, when people ask me, I said, I really can't explain. I just can't. I don't know that what they're thinking is. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I get they gotta do what they have to do to keep our federal funds, but Our school, it just doesn't make sense to me. But, Montessori is supposed to move in, and the school is going to be called Dr. Walter Cooper Campus with Montessori. So the campus was, it'll be named campus instead of school, and then Montessori will, be moving in. Same thing with Dr. Alice Holloway Young. Dr. Alice Holloway Young campus with early college, high school uh, there. So
Mm-hmm.
3 will no longer exist, number 3 school, and number 10 will no longer exist at all.
So I have a couple questions. Back to my first question. So it sounds like
Call from Evelyn KFM.
the people that said that this was a done deal before they had the community meetings were right.
Yeah,
This was
pretty
already
much.
the community meetings were pretty much a dog and pony show.
Pretty much, because, if he presented in Albany, I mean, he got to go by what he told them. I mean, he can't go back on his word.
Yeah.
But they had to come up with a plan before, November, so that was the plan.
So going back to talk to the board and that kind of thing is pretty much a waste of time. And that's why I like Dan's letter, because it talked about, how to help our families transition so they have the least amount of trauma and that kind of thing. There were some very concrete steps
Right.
that he recommended that could be monitored and that kind of thing. And even with Sarah's letter, asking them to explain and to let them know we are watching.
Right.
Make sure you're not doing anything illegal.
Right.
Right. And I like something that Lee said at our last meeting too, is that we still have this year
We do.
to give our students the best services that we can.
And that's what I told my staff. Once I was told, I was very unhappy, and I left the meeting very angry after the announcement came. But then I said, I will be calling a meeting for my staff, and I expect somebody from central office to tell them. And I expect somebody from central office to tell Dr. Cooper, because I didn't make these decisions. And it is only fair that you all come and share this news. So my chief came, and we had a stand-up meeting with staff, and of course they were angry. A lot of tears. And then Dr. Cooper is very angry right now. He is very hurt. Very angry, very hurt. And he's just angry. And he has a right to be, because we've been doing great work at School 10. And had been visiting for a lot. Had been coming out and visiting, but he's even stopped visiting. He's so upset with the whole everything. He had lunch with superintendent, hoping to change his mind, but no.
I actually got an email from him.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, thanking
Good.
me for my support. That was
That's
pretty
good.
shocking. But I have another question too. Why do you think so many parents are leaving the district? It's shocking to hear that the district is losing lost 4,000 students, and one of my children was one of them this past year.
Mm-hmm.
So I know why I pulled my son out.
Yeah.
But I'm shocked to hear that so many other parents did that too.
Yeah, well, you have more charter schools opening up, number one, offering what parents want to hear. So you have that. But then you have the uncertainty. And one thing I always hate is when the news shares the negative stuff that is not always true. And people don't always get to come into buildings and see what we really do and how we really operate our buildings. And a lot of people are like shocked when they come in my school and they're like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And, oh, wow, this is great, because, the district has always been painted a bad picture, and people don't really get to see the good work being done in schools and all the hard work that's being done with our students. And so that bad reputation causes many families to choose other options. The other thing too is if you look at the data, that's why they had to do the reconfiguration too, because they're saying by 2032 we could be down to 14,000 students, and we were at 22,000 last year. And so they're noticing. They talked about the birth rate. They talked about more options for families to choose where they want their children to receive an education. So there's a lot of outliers, a lot of factors. Um, I think you'll find that a lot of parents will stay for pre-K to 2, and then they want to have their child go elsewhere sometimes, or either they'll stay for elementary and then they want to have them go elsewhere. I don't think they're thrilled with middle school and high school, but that's why we have very few high schools. We have more elementary schools than anything else.
Yeah, I
And then
think
parent engagement is not as robust as it could be. We do a lot in our school community. I can't speak for other schools, but we do a lot with our parents, and very proud of the work we do. But having that parent involvement is key. I think that if we had more parents that spoke out, we had an army of them, we might be able to stay open. But my thing is, I tell people, you're taxpayers. This is your money. They're taking and using it. You have a right to say something. I mean, you do.
They were a pretty tough army. My son was actually placed at number 3.
Mm-hmm.
He graduated from 15 in June,
Okay, good.
and he was placed at number 3,
Uh-huh.
which was not one of our 5 choices. That's why I pulled him out.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm glad that I did, because
Yeah.
they ended up closing it. So
Yeah.
it's so important to be led.
Mm-hmm. It is important to do that. You're right.
yeah, one of the things that we've been fighting for a lot during the time that we've been involved with the schools here is trying to get parent involvement up. And from things that we've picked up, it sounds like there are parents who really don't have much option for getting involved because they live too far to walk, and
Exactly.
getting to the school
Exactly.
via public transportation is next to
Mhm.
impossible when you're trying to get to an evening meeting or even a daytime meeting.
Right.
And that's been, one of the reasons we've been trying to push so much for local busing so that parents can pick a nearby school
Right.
rather than sending them across town somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any data as to what your parent involvement for parents that live within walking distance of the school versus some that have their kids coming from across town?
So the majority of our students, because we're all city schools, so the majority of our students are from outside of the neighborhood because we're all city schools. So when people pick our school, a lot of them have schools near them, but they choose to come to our school.
I'm just wondering, do you know how many of the parents that get involved with the schools are, for kids that walk to school or that live in the neighborhood?
I would.
That varies.
Yeah, it does vary. It does vary. Yeah.
Mr. Boutte, that varies because if I may, Dr. Thomas,
Yes, you
um,
may. Mhm.
um, we have parents. Quite a few of our parents are working parents, and not just because it's us, but we have a leader that gives us permission. I'm the parent liaison there, and there's parents that need to be to work before school starts,
Right.
and they look at us as family.
Mhm.
And so we actually, the security and I is at the door welcoming them, and they drop their kids off in a warm place until the bell rings,
Mm-hmm.
and that does not happen in all schools.
Right.
And so, and they know that they are cared for there. They know that they're going to get their breakfast. We're going to make sure that they are actually family to us, and we are family to them. And so, so it's heartbreaking when you see family,
Mm-hmm.
get pulled away. And that's how our families feel right now. They come to me, they, talked about they don't realize even the process. We are going into December,
Mhm.
and the district has yet, if they have, I have no knowledge of it. The district has yet to tell them procedures and processes for the upcoming year as to how they will facilitate their kids moving to the schools, or what the school of choice will look like, and so they're nervous. And
Mm-hmm.
that's another reason why I had one parent to tell me that I just send my child to spend support. I have a family member. So there's, it's a number of reasons why we are losing kids. And it's not just because families want that choice. It's out of necessity, that, with decisions that the district is making, it's not always, um, in the best interest of the family. I'm just keeping it real. And so, it was heartbreaking one of the parents, as Dr. Thomas indicated at the community meeting, said, what are you going to do? Evict us? They internalize you're evicting us in order to bring another family in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what was said to the superintendent. So, it is crucial that we have, if the committee can do something else. I mean, it is crucial that, we have developed and continue to develop um, family, in the building that parents can depend on. And now you're saying, oh, I gave you that this year, but you won't have it next year. So you going in. We have new families that fought. I have one of the leaders in our building. She fought for 3 years to get her child in our school. 3 years, and she finally got uh, her child there in first grade, and she wanted to know why. Well, why is it I can't get my child? She had a son here, and guess what? She had to move her son to another school because of convenience. Not that she wanted to move him, but then when she said, I'm going to bring my daughter back, but they wouldn't let her bring. She had to fight, and she's a person that knows how to maneuver the system. So, it is systematic when you talk about things that's going on, and changes. Dr. Thomas, in she's a wonderful principal, but she can only do so much. We need we need uh extra people coming around, to help support us. We need community people. I was surprised at how many community members showed up at the talk with the a lot of our families that live around the school showed up. They came out and for our support. So, so I'm just a believer that the fight is not over. We still we still, we may be down for the count, but
Mhm.
the count is not over. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm just believing God, a higher power. Now, if it happens, that's my belief. That it's a ram in the bush somewhere. That
Mhm.
he's gonna make it happen. Cooper left me a message personally, indicating how hurt he was
Mm.
and that he failed the kids. That's how he's internalizing it. He failed. He said, I'm so sorry. I can't come to the meeting because I failed the kids. He's taking it personal. So he has not been back in the building since that. So,
Mm.
his heart is broken that
Mm.
they are doing this, so anything the committee can do, or, the community can do, we applaud it, and we're willing to, step up to the plate, and, bring the parents in to support you guys in your efforts or whatever. So thank you.
Thank you, because
Yeah.
I we've been pretty consistent in the last 11 years or so that we've been, trying to push this wet noodle that is the central office to work in the towards things that we think would help, which, would be trying to eliminate the 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 system that the state has for reimbursing busing couldn't be better design than it is for destroying public education, because
Mm.
you're taking a city and you're encouraging students to travel beyond 1.5 miles,
Right.
which reduces the chance of parents uniting behind their local school. Because, it used to be, when I went to school back in Massachusetts, I went to the local grade school because that's where you went, and everybody
Right.
whose kids went there was, they knew where the school was. They could walk there because most of the kids that went there could walk there. And
Mm.
and here we have a system that scatters kids all over the city, and that isn't necessarily in the best interest of the children. So we've been pushing for local busing. For, ideally you'd like the kids to walk a mile,
Right.
mile and a half, but you look at what goes on in the
Well,
city, and the streets the sidewalks aren't necessarily plowed, and if they are,
right.
individual people have had a truck come through to clear their driveway, so you're walking over mounds of snow. There are just so many things that make it hard for saying that kids are going to walk, even if it's a half a mile. But also, we just have been trying to get parental involvement in the schools. That's not what the system ends up encouraging, and there are many, factions within the state and within the federal system that are pro privatization of the schools. We dealt at some over the years with what's his last Klein Steele has been involved with some
Yeah.
pushes for charter schools,
Charter.
and
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
not always, you know exactly where they're coming from is a place where they have a lot of money to push things around, and a lot of the legislation that went through at a federal level that pushed for No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top, those were all things that were pushing towards high stakes testing, and one approach fits everybody. And within the cities, given the amount of trauma that the kids are coming to school with, we really need to have the education tailored to the students that they have. It isn't always easy to try to get things going. That everybody has. When we were fighting for getting local busing and not have it pushed at do things that encourage kids going all over the place. There's, some pushback from parents who think we're trying to reduce school choice. That isn't the objective. The thing is to make it easy to have school choice so that you can be involved with your child's school, and that means we've been fighting a lot with trying to get local busing passed. Now, this past year, we were hoping that we would see that go through because all of our local state representatives were in favor of a half-mile busing legislation. But then it never got through. They didn't succeed at getting it passed. And I haven't really had a chance to talk with them. We've talked with most of these folks and need to look at that some more. But a couple of things. Let's see, we're over already. I think that we need to get the coalition to sit down with us and review these things. The fact that we've seen the Montessori school pull this once before when we were focusing on School 44 is kind of raises doubts in my mind that there wasn't some of that going on this time around. Mary Adams was extremely... that board meeting that came right after they tried to close 44 to make room for Montessori at 44, Mary Adams was really bent out of shape, and rightly so, but she's a wonderful person, perhaps a little bit hot sometimes when it comes to getting upset, but she definitely left her tenure on the board in less than a pleasant state of mind. Now, I say that because she and the coalition, I'm not sure what went on at various times, but she's not a great fan of the coalition, and has sometimes you try to do something and get people together going in the same direction, and history sometimes interferes because there may have been some past event that makes it hard to get people working together. But I would suggest you touch base with Mary and see what her knowledge is of what went on and what her views are on what's going on. Meanwhile, we need to, I think I want to get in touch with, and really sit down with Dan and others that at the Coalition for Public Education and see what the best way to handle this is. I haven't met with the current superintendent. I thought we were making good progress working with the state assembly and senate to get the short distance busing passed, but that hasn't happened. But we need to really try to look and revisit just what was going on behind the scenes. I'll try to touch base with Mary, see what I can find out from her also, but if you can touch base with her, Eva, and Dr. Thomas, I should say. We've just been going back. We went back to when you were in charge of School 19.
19, yes. So when I first connected with you, Mr. Butte, that is correct, many years ago.
But if you can touch base with Mary Adams see what she knows of if there was anything going on behind the scenes. It's considering how much Ricardo put into working with School 10 over the years.
His children went there, so he was
his
very
children went there, and he was there, very involved with the school. And I'm kind of surprised that he let that pass. But knowing how much what's going on in our private lives can impact how much energy we have to refight the same fight so many times. It's not always easy to keep up the energy. But
John, let me interject something. If you're going to continue this fight, there was a woman who spoke at the last community meeting. I don't know her name, but I know she works at School 15. She's either the site coordinator or one of the speech specialists. But anyway,
Yuritsa,
I can't remember her name, but I can find out. But she brought up a very
What school was that?
School 15, and I think
15.
she was the
Okay.
site coordinator. I was trying to
Okay.
catch her after the meeting, but I
Uh-huh.
got away from it. But anyway, but I've seen her before. She brought up the fact that it was interesting that none of the RCSD has 10% white students, and it was interesting that they did not consider closing any of the schools that had the white students in it.
Yeah, we
And
talked about that
it was profound.
Yeah.
And I think if you're going to go back to them, that getting her statistics, I don't know where she got her numbers from, but I didn't hear anybody else say anything about that. And I thought that was very interesting. And she said, and she was white, and she said, you didn't, and there was good reasons why those schools should have been considered instead of School 10. And she said, well, you didn't choose those schools to close because you didn't want to upset the white parents.
Yeah.
That's something that probably should be looked at too.
That is so true. That's one of the things that the district has done time and again is really try to keep the white parents in the schools and not do anything that might have them go somewhere else, which is understandable, and it's desirable certainly from the standpoint of the demographics in the city schools. But
Well, let me say this, and I know you need to close because we are over time. But the schools that I chose for my kids are mixed. I don't want my kids to go to all white schools or all black schools.
Yeah.
That's why I love the schools that my kids went to in the district. My kids went to School 15, and my kids went to School of the Arts. My youngest son tried out for School of the Arts, but he didn't make it. They placed him at number 3. That's the only reason that I pulled him out of the district. God, I forgot there was a thought that I was trying to make. What was my thought? What was my point? We lived on Linden Street when School 15 was on Averill. It was in walking distance.
Right.
And they pulled School 15, they put it across town on
Took over
Joseph.
School 1.
Yep. And then they moved it from there took over School 1 and put it in Cobb's Hill.
Right.
So I was listening to you talk about, people choosing schools based. I chose a neighborhood school, and the schools moved all over the city. So Rochester City School District it's so. I ran into a coworker on Saturday, he's not working in education anymore. He's working at Lasertron. And I told him, and he's wonderful. And I said, you should try applying at school or city school district. And what he said it's too unstable.
Yeah.
He said it's too unstable. And so, like even as a parent who chose a neighborhood school, my life has still been crazy as my kid's school has been moved all over the city. So you can't win for losing.
Yeah.
The district is unstable, and they don't seem to take into account the effect that it has on people's lives.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So, listen, if God wasn't in control of my life, I'd be crazy.
Yeah.
You better know that.
Yeah.
But I thank God I had an employer who worked with me in terms of my start times.
Right,
And that kind of, they let me come in later so I could get my
right,
kids on the bus and,
right.
that kind of thing.
And the right leaders will do that. The ones
That's
who
right.
Mhm.
are
Yeah.
passionate about
But everybody
family
doesn't
and
have that.
yeah, everybody does not. Mr. Boutte, I'd like to say a few things, but once you're done recording, I will say those things.
Okay. Well, let's try to make sure I'm not ready to just give up on School 10. I think we really
We
need to
aren't
take.
either. We are praying and looking for a miracle on 353 Congress Avenue. We believe in miracles, signs, and wonders, and that's so we just gonna keep working and we gonna hold out faith. That's what we do.
Hmm.
So we gonna do when we celebrate and we work hard, and we celebrate and we work hard and we celebrate. That's what we do.
And I just like to say we had over 50 fathers to show up uh, a few days ago for our
Mhm.
pro dads, and the men was in the house. So you can't tell us that a parent don't want to be engaged.
Yeah.
And that was the second time around that fathers came out like that. So we're on the move.
Hmm.
Right. And so we are very, flexible at School 10. We understand that this is a 21st century parent. And so when we do parent conferences, we give them options. You can FaceTime, you can Zoom, you can come into the building, you can come before school, you can come after school. We give them about 5 or 6 options. And the same thing with them being involved in school. And we explain to parents there's a difference between being involved and engaged. And you can decide what works for you. And so we tell parents that are involved, you might not be able to come to the event, but you could call people, you could drop them off, you could do some flyers, or you could donate some food, whatever you want to do, right? That's an involved parent. And then the engaged parent is in the building. And I hired my parents, so some of my parents work for us. I mean,
Yep.
and they work all over the building. They come to events. We make sure we have events in the morning, events in the evening, events in the afternoon. So we try to accommodate the 21st century parent and try to find what works. And that seems to be working for us. So,
But
Okay.
it's not even the 21st century parent, Diva. I listen to you, and let me tell you what I think about. When I was doing my residency as a chaplain,
uh-huh,
we had to learn as chaplains to open the morgue at any time of night for
uh-huh,
people to come and identify their loved ones. You know why?
hmm,
Because all of us can't get off work
right,
to go
Mm,
even to the hospital in an
right,
emergency and identify a loved one that's been. So we have to accommodate our families.
exactly. Be
We don't always
flexible.
all have
Mhm.
executive jobs where we can just say, "Oh, well, I'm going to take off 2 hours." We just
Exactly.
don't.
come
You
on
can't
now.
do it.
You got to know who you're dealing with, and sometimes we don't understand the people that we're dealing with.
Don't you don't
Hmm.
understand the population or appreciate the population you deal with. I keep saying these are taxpayers. This is family,
Yeah.
right? This is the extension of the school, the family, and we want to always welcome them and support them in any way we can. We also gave out 50 60 baskets, food baskets, this week, and they were very appreciative. We got over the amount for our after school program, which is starting, next week. We usually take 130. I think you might almost have 140. And those parents are so appreciative. The kids will be with us from 8:45 to 6:30 at night. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, learning all kinds of things while they're with us, having cultural field trips and just being engaged, doing some theater, some plays, some worship arts, flags. We have it all. They do all kind of stuff. They'll be doing all. That's cool. That should be very nice. Have a safe trip.
Right.
Thank you.
Boy.
Yes, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Enjoy family and friends and loved ones.
Great.
Yes, I'm
Thank
getting ready to
you
start
very
my
much.
dinner as soon as I hang up with you.
All righty. Take care.
Get the trimmings going.
Have a blessed one.
Yes,
Have a
you all
good
have
one.
the best.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yeah.